Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is episode 22 of Sure Babe. In this episode, I sit down with Megan Brandlin, my photographer, best friend, and business partner in this new e-course that we created together, Find Your Voice, a mindful approach to making your passions profitable. You guys, this course is chock full of information, over 9 hours of video, 25 PDFs. It's just so full. 3 meditations. It's just for anybody wanting to start something or get unstuck, figure out how to grow their business, do their own thing, find their passion, market it online. It is for you. It literally is for everybody. We already have a testimonial from one of our first students. Sierra Palkovich says, Find Your Voice e-course has changed the way I look at my dreams. I finally feel like I can make a living doing what I love. Every moment I spend on this e-course makes me feel more sure about myself, my talent, and the possibility of growing to become what I've always wanted to be with my community. If I'm being honest, working towards my dreams has always given me a lot of stress and anxiety because I was giving up time that I could be making money. But Chrissy and Megan have made me see that I am putting time and work into myself, and the more I value my own time and work on things that I enjoy doing and sharing, my business will only grow. And I absolutely love all of the mindful meditations within this course. They've helped me with the uncertainties and insecurities. This e-course is not just for Instagram influencers or photographers. This course is for anyone trying to build their dreams into an actual career. Thank you so much, Chrissy and Megan. This information is priceless. Thank you so much for that, Sierra. We are so glad that it is already helping you personally and professionally. So as a Sure Babe listener, if you would like to take advantage of this and roll into our e-course, we have an early bird pricing of $249 that lasts for another 5 days and ends this coming Monday night. You can also use the code SUREBABE for 10% off. So you do not want to miss that. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy this episode.
Welcome to Sure Babe, a podcast by Chrissy Powers, mother, marriage and family therapist, photographer, and eternal optimist. Sure Babe is all about relationships, motherhood, career, and finding the life you want to live. Get ready, things are about to get real.
Hello, Sure Babe listeners. I am so excited to be back in the studio recording another podcast for you. Since I took a little hiatus to have a baby who is now on my lap, and I have in my podcast studio, which is also my home, my business partner, photographer, best friend, Megan Brandlin.
Hi guys, it's Megan here.
And we are so excited today to talk about what we've done this summer, creating an e-course for you, which we hope will add to your life. While also making a baby, we made...
You did that part.
I did that part.
I was just observing.
You helped create an e-course, and we are about to launch it, and we are so excited to talk a little bit more about what it entails and how it will actually add to the students' lives that take this e-course. And we're also going to be answering some questions that we pulled out on Instagram last night about, just anything ask us anything sort of thing. So let's get at it.
Yes.
Okay, so the story of this e-course happened way back in probably January of last year? Or no, this year. And I said to Megan, do you want to do an e-course with me? And we had no clue what we were doing, or what an e-course really was.
Yes.
I just thought, we'll just put together some slides and, of what, the best or the most questions that we get asked. And it became something so much bigger. We ourselves went on a journey of learning what an e-course is, what a good e-course is, and then how to do it legitly. Because before we were just thinking we'll just create something ourselves, but realizing we needed help to do that. So we got help, we got amazing producers, which you heard on the last episode, Tiffany, our producer who knows her stuff from StoryArc. So if you're ever in looking for a e-course producer, StoryArc, Tiffany Berkowitz knows her stuff. We're excited to talk a little bit more about the materials that are going to be in it. So Megan,
why don't you take the mic and talk about why you're excited for it and, everything that you wanted to put into it.
This e-course is so different because it's not just your average quick little course on how to grow your Instagram or, make your brand better. It really involves our heart and soul and something that we're so passionate about, which is empowering entrepreneurs to really channel their purpose, their identity, their true self, and transform that into something that can be profitable for them. And especially as mothers, because both of us are working moms and we've just learned how to let go of expectations and work around life to make our dreams still happen.
Yes.
And this course isn't just for mothers, but that is a part of it because that's our unique experience. And I think it's something that sets it apart.
And I think what we learned, or at least what I noticed over the last few years, was that a lot of the people that would reach out to me were just like me, but like 5 years ago, wanting to do something maybe different, or wanting to figure out what their goals were, what their passions were, what they needed to put their efforts towards. And I really felt a calling to help those people to discover what it is they need to focus on, and then how to then make that profitable, because a lot of people say, how do you do what you do? And honestly, I didn't really know what I was doing in the beginning. I just knew I loved it. I just knew it was a passion of mine. So I just kind of kept doing it and making time for it when I could, when my children slept. And I was still seeing a lot of clients at the time, and so I would go at night to see clients and then maybe stay like an hour after to answer emails or to create a blog post. And I did it because I honestly loved it and realized that's a passion of mine and I can't let that go. And then it became something profitable. So I really feel like it's invaluable to share that information, or it's very valuable, to share that information with our audiences and just anybody, of like how to discover who you are, what your voice is, and how to market that online. And I realized through doing both jobs, being a therapist and being an influencer and a creative, that they were so closely linked, that both of them could help someone to discover their own passion and then how to be creative, and all those like tangible tutorials that we put into this e-course. And then our own personal journeys. I know that you've been through a lot in the last year, and I've been through a lot too, just discovering how to deal with my anxiety, which so much of that is going into your head and your heart and your internal beliefs and what you're believing. And we also realized so many of our internal beliefs go into our businesses. And so if we could help someone to have a better relationship with, their mind and their heart, and to let go of beliefs that don't serve them, we could help them grow their businesses. So yes, in this e-course, I'm excited because it's different in that way, that we added so many therapeutic techniques and, meditations and journal exercises that help you go into that part of yourself that will help you figure out what your passion is and what you need to focus on. So if it's like you have a business already that's a passion, but you're kind of confused, like where do we go next with the business? How do we make it stand out better? How do we make it more authentic? These exercises that are in the e-course, the meditations, will help you do that. Yeah, so that's why I'm excited about it. Sorry, I just took the mic from you.
No, it's something you're passionate about. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. So, and I was excited that Megan's a part of it because I realized, she, even though I love photography, she knows how to educate someone in that area way more than I do. So she is the photography branding expert as well. She's taken lots of classes on it. And so she talks a lot about that in the e-course, with like hands-on videos and screen shares that show you how she's editing and how she's using her camera, and also how you use your iPhone. I do a tutorial on that too, which a lot of times as an on-the-go mom blogger, I'm just using my iPhone because I don't have time for the big camera all the time. the big camera. That's what I call it.
Me too. It's a
So,
heavy
yeah.
one.
That is why this e-course is different and why we're excited to give it to you guys. And we finally picked out a name. Yeah, yesterday. So it is called Find Your Voice.
How to make your passion profitable.
Okay, good. I have total mom brain.
I think that's what it's called because we just picked it yesterday.
Just picked it yesterday. Find Your Voice, How to Make Your Passions Profitable.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you for everybody that helped us on that Instagram poll because that's kind of what we're leaning towards, and it just gave us confirmation that that is what it's called. So why don't we go into answering some questions before my baby wakes up?
Do you have yours?
Yeah, I
out?
saved them. So I'll answer a question. Oh, rewind.
I know.
Okay, it's how we really are professionals. It's the title of this e-course is Find Your Voice, a mindful approach to making your passions profitable, and we definitely wanted to add that mindful part to it because that's the key to actually helping the students that take this course figure out their authentic voice. It's all about being mindful and teaching mindfulness in this course. So yeah, that's why we're excited that it's different than just growing your Instagram and growing your business and branding. But yeah, we're gonna go into answering some questions right now. Okay, this person said, I struggle with putting my family first when getting clients because I want and need the work. Gosh,
Oh, what's that like?
totally get that. Yeah, we don't get that. What's
Yeah.
that?
Wow.
We get you.
Juggling work and family.
Um,
Big topic.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel the same way. Like, I think yesterday I even said to Sam before I went to bed, am I doing the right thing? Like, do I need to stop? Or do I need to slow down? And he was like, no, right now you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. I know that. And I was like, but it's stressful and we're both stressed out. And I resolved it for myself by saying in my mind, like, this is just a season right now because we're launching this e-course and I'm still working on other things and I have a newborn and, you know, we have a 6-year-old and an almost 3-year-old and it's a time that is stressful. So I resolved it in that way, just saying that it's a phase. And 2, I'm learning from it that, like, okay, what things can I do better to schedule out my time? You know, one could be like plan dinner ahead of time or do one of those like meal scheduled kind of things where they almost make the meal for you. Because oftentimes we get stressed out around dinner time where we're like, we gotta feed the kids and and I gotta do this and I gotta answer this email. And it's hard. It's really hard to put your family first all the time. But for me, working is also putting my family first. And sometimes my kids have to know that, like, I have to do this so that I can afford to send them to college someday, or that we can, you know, go on that really fun trip or go to Legoland or things like that. I tell my kids all the time that, like, that's why mommy works, to help pay for things. But it is a struggle, and I think that's the mom guilt that we put on ourselves, that, you know, we want to be in and present with our kids all the time. But when you work, it's impossible to be present all the time with your kids. So planning and organizing, that's probably what I'm working on, being a working stay-at-home mom, just organizing the right childcare so that when my kid comes back home, I can be present with him. And that I can, you know, like in Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week, he talks about like answering emails at a certain time every day. And I think that's really key for me because I notice when I fall back into my habit of like answering emails as they come in, I'm not present at all during the day. But if I focus on like one time a day to work on this project or to answer emails, I'm much more effective and present with my kids. So you do have to schedule work like, you know, this is where I'm giving my attention right now, and then I'll give my attention to my kids when I'm done. And then really shut it off. And I'm totally preaching to the choir right now because I don't do that at all.
Me too.
So why don't you, do you have any 2 cents to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, just agreeing with everything you said, 100%. What helps me mentally let go when I'm with my kids and not feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not making money right now, because I'm a single mom, so I'm the sole breadwinner for my family. So I have a lot of pressure to provide, which is very real. But I feel like for me, what's helped me is the scheduling and having routine. Like, okay, I have childcare on this day and this day. That's when I'm really going to hustle and work. And then when I don't have that childcare and I'm with my kids, I am not going to be on my phone answering inquiries, you know, going on Instagram and checking DMs, like that kind of stuff. Just scheduling the time to be with my kids. I literally have it like in my calendar, mama to cash, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And it's like having the self-control to not go on my phone. But I'm definitely struggle with addiction to my phone. I'm like, oh my God, I just subconsciously look at it. It's a millennial thing. But
which we decided we're older.
yeah, we're elder millennials.
Elder millennials. So we can educate younger millennials on what we learned.
Yeah.
That's it. I want to just, before we finish this question, this person said, I need the work. And I want to give that permission to you right now, that if you want to work, it's okay. And if you're a mom, I think sometimes we tell ourselves, like, if you want to work, that's a bad thing, because you should want to be with your kids all the time, 24/7.
Oh my God, and I would be in a mental institution.
Me too. I need an outlet other than motherhood, and that's okay if you want that too. And hey, it's okay if you don't need an outlet and your kids fill you up completely. More power to you, but I want to give you guys that permission that it's okay to want to work and have children.
We've done studies that women have less depression when they are working like part-time, who are mothers.
Yeah, and honestly, this postpartum time, like I recently last week went to Cincinnati for work, and I brought Ruby with me because I'm feeling good, and I, thought this is great. She can sleep on the plane and sleep during the conferences I have to go to. And everybody's like, wow, like you're already doing that. And I do better mentally when I am working. And so I realized, like, I'm going to just do this because I feel more normal. I feel more like me when I am active. So if that's you, then you need to pay attention to that. Okay, the next question I have is, what about when you know you need to hire help but you can't afford to hire help yet? I get that, because in the very beginning of working and blogging, I did not hire help, and I almost didn't want to yet because I was afraid to leave my kids with someone, or at the time I was just Waylon. But I worked at night, so I worked when my husband came home. I would go to the office and see clients, and I would also work during nap time. So whenever he would nap, or at night, right before we go to bed, I would work. And I would also answer emails on my phone, maybe during a walk if he was in the stroller. So that's how I worked around that. And then recently, when I started making money, I realized that's when I could hire a babysitter, and I needed to. But it was a big step for me to do that, and I don't hire enough help, and I need to, so looking for that.
Does she need help with her kids, or hire an accountant and
Oh, that's a good question.
administrative assistant or something? Outsourcing.
Oh, that might be, yeah.
When did you hire? You have a guy that does all your IT
Yeah.
stuff. So when did you reach that point where okay, I'm going to hire out now and not do this myself?
That's a really good question. Okay, so let's spin it that way. I didn't do that soon enough. I probably could have been more profitable if I outsourced things a little bit sooner. When I started making money, I probably should have set aside a budget for this is what I'm putting back into my business, but I didn't. I just was oh cool, I'm making money.
Yeah.
But I recently started to do that in the last year, where I was okay, I'm going to hire a tech person. I'm going to hire some designers, the girls from Coast to Coast. Give them a little shout out. They redid my website last year. They're awesome. And yeah, things like that, or graphics here and there. I, in the last year, realized I need to do that.
For me, I've done a lot of trading with people, trading services, which you need to be mindful of if you have time to do that, but that's a great way if you don't have money and you're just growing your business, trading services for graphic design or whatever you need help with. That's been really cool for me. And then as far as childcare, the other thing that I do is swap kids with other moms.
I was going to say that too.
Because then you aren't paying. And family, if you have them in town. My mom's in town, which I'm super blessed. So she takes my daughter 2 days a week for me so I can work.
Yeah. I would say if you don't have help with childcare, find a friend that you guys can trade back and forth. I'll watch your kids while you do that. You can watch my kids when I do this, and that's invaluable. So find a tribe, find moms that get you and want to help you succeed. Okay, let's go on to the next one. This is a good one. How have you found your voice, and how can we do it? I feel like you would be really good to take that first because you're so good at.
Oh my gosh. So for me, it's just about my own personal journey, my own personal growth. I think the more that I embrace who I am, my quirks, my insecurities, my things that I don't want to share with the world, the more I embrace that and just let it all out, the more I can connect with people on an authentic level, and that's my true voice. If it feels fake, it's not going to be successful. If I do a post and I'm just writing what I think people want to hear or something, it's not going to go as far as if I'm really channeling something that's touching my heart and really resonates with me. Then you're able to connect. I just saw my brother's band perform last week, and the lead singer is this really passionate guy. He's kind of like James Brown, and he told my mom, if I want to make a connection with the audience and have them open up to me, I have to be willing to hemorrhage on stage.
Wow, that's a good word.
I know. I was like, whoa, that's deep. That's profound. Be willing to get messy. Show your real life. Show your heart. And people will open up back to you. And you'll make a real connection.
Wow. That's good. I mean, when I read this question, I thought about lots of different things, but right now I'm thinking about Brene Brown and how she talks about being vulnerable and how she says vulnerability is the birthplace for creativity. And that is honestly my story too. When I learned to be vulnerable online, writing, that's how I found my voice. I feel like for maybe in the beginning of a year, I kind of just wrote what I thought was a catchy caption, and those are on Instagram, I'm talking specifically, and that has its place. But that's all. I was just looking what is everybody else doing? And then I kind of lost myself, or didn't fit. And then I realized well, this is who I am, and people want to know who I am, not just, they don't want to just see a pretty picture. They want, I think more and more on social media, people want reality. They want to connect with people that are real, because everybody in this life, I feel like we just are always trying to feel connection, and we don't want to feel alone. And I feel like one of my goals as a person in life is to help people feel less alone. So that's part of my voice, because it's a desire. I also think notice what pulls at your heart. If you're listening to a cool audiobook or reading a book, audiobooks are my jam these days. But if something pulls at you, then that's obviously something that's part of your voice that maybe you need to speak about. So I think about online, what are 5 things that you feel passionate about to talk about and that you actually have an experience with? For me, it varies, but a lot of things that I want to talk about in the recent years has been anxiety, because I've had an experience with it, and I realize there are other people that suffer from that want to connect with others on that. So I learned how to be vulnerable in that way. Another practical thing is, how do you talk with your friends? Because when I write, in my head, I'm there with a friend having coffee, and I'm writing like I'm talking. And I mean, there's a place for professional writing for sure, but on my blog and Instagram, I write like I'm talking to a friend, because I want people to feel like that. So I think those are all ways I have found my voice, and I feel like you can use those same tools and tactics too. We have a few PDFs and exercises in the e-course on finding your voice and how to discover your own as well. So is there anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that keeps people from being authentic is shame and just being afraid of what people are going to think of you and judging you. And it's really about loving yourself, embracing yourself, and then releasing that out into the world. And this is something funny, but it has been so powerful for me. Okay, I'm obsessed with this movie called The Greatest Showman. And the whole anthem of the movie is this song called This Is Me. And the bearded lady is just like singing out to the whole world, this is me. I don't make any apologies. Yeah. I've been through all this. I have all this pain and trauma I've been through, but this is what makes me beautiful and unique. And this is me. And like, I play that song if I'm on my way to an event and I'm insecure, if I'm feeling like doubting what I'm supposed to be doing right now in my life. I seriously belt that song out alone in my car, and it shifts something in my heart. And then I'm able to be confident, and it's so powerful. So just find whatever it is for you that releases that inner joy, that inner confidence, and have that be your mantra, and just say it even out loud before you do things. And it will shift something in your heart in a profound way and make you more powerful and successful.
Yeah. Let's just piggyback on that, because the next question was, what are your thoughts on finding your voice within the corporate world rather than the entrepreneurial world? And I think that's important because not everybody is going to be an entrepreneur. We need people in the corporate world. I love Brene Brown's work because she talks about like being a team and working with a team, and when you voice your thoughts to your team, everybody works better. So I would say, it's helpful to use some of those same techniques that an entrepreneur would use to find your voice so that you know what your voice is in the corporate world. Not all the time can you just, work off of that because you're working off of what a corporate identity is. But I would say it's important to voice your feelings and thoughts. So Brene Brown gives this example when you are having, she calls it a
vulnerability hangover?
No, I can't say the word because it's a bad word. A poopy first draft.
Oh.
But she uses the other word. So she says, like, we all tell ourselves stories, and that's this part of the story that we're telling ourselves, like, when we have an interaction with someone that doesn't go the way we want it to. So when you're working with a team, especially in a corporate setting, there are probably times where you're going to have interactions with people where you're like, well, gosh, that person doesn't really like what I just did because they rolled their eyes at the meeting. And she says, go to that person and then be vulnerable and open and say, hey, when I was talking about, this project and you rolled your eyes, I told myself that you didn't like what I was saying and that you think my idea is crap. And then that gives that other person the ability to come back and say, oh, no, I'm sorry. I was thinking about what my mother-in-law said last night at dinner. Or maybe that person did think your idea was crap, but you need to talk it through and be vulnerable. And so that's why I would say in the corporate setting, be really open to like sharing your voice and running it through your team and letting everybody else be open and honest with where they're at. So that's really all I have to say about that. Okay, so let's go on to some other ones. I get a lot of questions about my time in school, graduate school. So I'm just going to answer one real quick so people have a little idea of background. Someone asked what's my greatest advice for starting their master's in psychology. If you want to get your master's in anything, I always tell people, like, do it. Like, go for it. Because education is so key and helpful in this world. It's definitely key if you want to do something in the medical field or I call it the helping field of psychology. So, do it. If you're a mom, I know it's going to be so much harder, but there are so many great online programs that you can do, and you just, same thing, have to schedule out childcare and save that time for you to actually study and learn. But be present, that's my advice. Like, I was lucky enough to start my master's before I was even married, and that was all I focused on. I worked part-time, And I went to school, and it was such a good time because I really was so present. I was so focused on it. I just flourished. I loved everything I was learning, and it was like so key to me that that was what I was supposed to be doing because I loved it so much. So yeah, I would just say focus on what you're learning, and study hard, but also know that you're gonna learn so much more after when you're actually in the office with a client, and you don't have to remember everything. It will come back to you. And that being in this session with a client one-on-one and listening to them is probably the best thing that you will ever learn to do. Really how to listen and how to reflect back to someone what you heard from them, because it's validating their experience, and that's good for anybody, any relationship. To be able to reflect back to what you heard them say is like honey to someone's wound. It's like, that's what we need to learn more about. Listening.
Yes, when I call Chrissy and I'm having a crisis and she goes into therapist voice and starts asking me questions, I'm like, okay, this is helping me calm down.
Which, if you buy this e-course, you will get to hear my therapist voice. In my meditative practices.
Yes, you will.
I turn that therapist voice on.
Hey, it's helpful to have a friend who's a therapist.
Yeah. I have a couple I call. Dr. Cassidy, she's one of them. I'm going to shout her out. Okay, a couple more questions.
Do you want to talk about how you've gotten transitioned into doing more coaching?
Sure.
Using your therapy background?
Yeah, that's also
Because that's another
thing.
alternative if moms don't have time to do the whole
yeah.
master's degree.
That's true. And I gave that advice to someone recently who said, I'm a mom and want to have more kids, but I really want to work with people. And coaching is an option for you. Getting your marriage and family therapy license takes time. It took me a couple years in college and graduate school, I should say, about 2.5 years in graduate school, and then about 3 years after school because I had a baby in between then. And you have to get your hours, which you do get a lot of experience. And I got paid as an intern, which you should. I would never say be an intern for free in terms of being a marriage and family therapy intern. But you can always go a coaching route because you can work with people, and that's huge these days. And I've also transitioned into working with people, specifically more business-minded people that are like, how do I do this, or how do I rebrand? And I love it. So yes, I've been doing that a little bit more. Also, someone said, how did you start growing a larger audience on Instagram? I'll just say real quick, I started my blog when my son was about, my oldest, who's 6 now. He was about 6 months old. Started a blog with a friend and learned about blogging way back then, which was 2012. I did not know about monetizing it or anything. I just thought, wow, there's this cool thing on the internet where I could put my photos and write, and people can actually read it. And so that's how I started a blog. Then I actually made my own personal one right before my second son was born. So I think it was 2012. That's when I started ChrissyPowers.com because I realized I could write about everything personal that I wanted to write about. I could write about relationships. And that's kind of when my audience grew. That's when I hit around 10,000 followers, and I noticed after 10,000, that's when I started to get more working with brands, and it grew from there too. So it's been 6 years. So it really doesn't happen overnight unless you go viral, which that's unicorn status. It doesn't happen that often. And you don't need to go viral. Just grow steadily, and I promise you people will follow you and be real followers. You want people to follow you for your lifetime, because that's real loyalty, that's real influence and connection. And so it's taken 6 years, and it's been a focus of I really want to put good work out there. I really want to be consistent. I really want to put things out that benefit other people, that they're going to get something out of. So that's how I've grown on Instagram, but also working with brands and bloggers, other bloggers, and having kind of almost like colleagues on Instagram. That's what I view them as. And we all help each other out. That's been how I grow. So I tell everybody, find a group of people that are doing what you're doing, and that have kind of similar followings as you, and ask them to be in a group where you support each other, where you like help each other out and talk about, hey, what are you charging for this post? And hey, how did you get that deal? I just recently talked to a friend this morning about that, and she was asking me like, how are you growing? And I was telling her like, hey, you got to do this, and talk to this person, and do shout outs with stories of why you follow who you follow. So that is some tidbits on how to grow on Instagram.
I just wanted to pop on real quick and say that this episode is made possible by Finding Your Voice, a mindful approach to making your passions profitable e-course. My first e-course you can enroll in now, and already students are saying that it has been changing their lives. One student said just from participating in our first free webinar that they upped their prices and were able to confidently ask for what they felt like they were worth, and they were received very well by their clientele and are already making more money and feeling happier in life. So we just want you so badly to become a student of ours and to hear from you how this e-course is affecting your life. We truly believe in it. We have a guarantee that you will love it. So check it out. Head to ChrissyPowers.com and click on courses, and it will take you directly to our e-course. It's ChrissyPowers.com. Click on courses.
Yeah, what do you have to say about that? Anything about like how you've grown, like, or how specifically for you it's not always about sponsored posts, it's about how do I turn my followers into customers, because you're a photographer.
Yeah, I think for me I've grown a lot doing kind of what Chrissy was talking about, like being part of groups where like we follow each other, and then also monetizing. That's kind of more into monetizing my Instagram as a business owner, but I have a link in my this is really practical. I just have a link in my bio so that if people see me tagged in other photos that I've done on Instagram and they hop on my profile or through hashtags, then they see really easily the link in my bio to whatever current package I'm promoting. Actually, I think now I have a link tree, so I have a few links in there so they can easily see different things that I offer. And then I get inquiries straight off of Instagram, like, all the time. So it's pretty simple.
Cool. Yeah, a lot of these next questions are all about, like, blogging and Instagram, and how do you grow an authentic tribe and a community, and how do you become a professional blogger as a career. Which is weird because I feel like that wasn't a thing like 5 years ago, or it was, but for a select group of people. Like I noticed, oh, that person blogs and they get paid, and I had no clue how they got paid. I just did it because I liked to share my photos and my story, and then if someone gave me something for free, I thought, wow, that's great, that's cool. Then I realized, oh, this is a big job. So I would say my best advice for people, for like a roadmap to becoming a blogger as a career, I would say have a career first that's not blogging, or have an interest or an expertise in something that you're sharing about, and then figure out how to share or your photography, your look, because that's very important. Like content is key in this world, so you have to have eye-catching content that's going to pull your reader in, and they're going to get to know you and your voice, and then decide then, is this something that adds to my life or not? So I would say figure out what is it that you're going to share that adds to someone else's life. Like maybe it is just that you share where the deals are, like where, my friend Carla Reed goes into, Target and Old Navy and all these cool stores to share where the sales are and what looks good, and she shows you, like, she tries them on, and I'm like, she's adding value to people's lives right there. You don't have to go try
Yeah, hey, I want to follow her. I'm thinking right now, Target.
You do. She's awesome. So she's figured out that's her niche. Like, she likes to try on things and show people. But, I always like to say, especially to the younger generation, like, don't just set out to be a blogger. Set out to figure out what you want to share with people. Like, have a an expertise in something that you want to share. And then go about that, go about that, finding your voice, your look, and stay consistent with it. And don't do it in the beginning for money. Do it because you love it. Do it because it's what you're passionate about, and then see what happens from there. But yeah, I would say also from a business point of view, you can start charging probably around when you get 10,000 followers is when I would no longer do things for free or for trade. Yeah. So value yourself for sure. What is another question? When you started your blog, did you have one main topic or many? I had too many. That's a good question. I had way too many. I thought, oh, I'll blog about this and blog about that, and I'll write about this and that. And it did give me that freedom because it was basically my blog is my life and my family. But then I realized for my organization and mental sanity and
Branding
wise, it's way more beneficial to have a select few topics, and within that you can have subcategories and post about the occasional random thing that comes up. But yeah, stay consistent and pick. You don't have to have one main topic, but pick a few things that you're going to write about that are consistent so that you feel organized and people know what to expect of you. The same goes for Instagram. Mm-hmm. Pick a few things that people know what to expect from you. Like people expect from me, it used to be boy mom, and now I have a little girl, so there's some bows added in there. But yeah, like people like to see what my kids are wearing. So
San
fashion,
Diego travel,
family travel, because we're always going out specifically in San Diego, like finding new things to do with our kids, and people love to know what to do and what I'm doing. So that was another thing. Yeah, just kind of that beach Southern California vibe is huge, and I think now more of the educational and therapeutic stuff is people want to benefit their lives and their families. So that's also something else that I know people expect of me and that I want to share. So what about you?
What I like to share about?
With your photography business, like how have you maintained that consistency?
Well, I think that it is true. Like, it's hard to limit it, but I limit it pretty much to what I'm working on currently for my photography one. So this is interesting, and a lot of people ask if they should do this, but I separated my Instagram into my personal, it's Whimsy Wild, and then my professional, which is photography. And so because the topics, they weren't consistent. Like my sister, she's a coach, and she was like, Megan, you can't write about like the day-to-day exhaustion of being a mom on your photography Instagram where you're reaching out to brides to book weddings. Yeah. Like, people who are engaged aren't going to want to read about that. They're just thinking about planning their dream wedding. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to separate these so that I can stay consistent on my topics. Mm-hmm. But so for my personal one, my topics are obviously motherhood. I'm always posting pictures of my kids, traveling, heart work, like my personal journey and growth in connecting with my identity as a woman and my femininity. And then also I like to get really personal on there. So I have written about my divorce that I went through in the last year. And that's like an outlet for me. And I feel safe doing that on my personal one because I don't have to like think about what brands would think or potential clients. Because my professional one, I really stick to just current projects that I've been working on or professional advice. And I do interject family stuff in there occasionally so that people can see my personality and like connect with me, but I limit that and I put that more on my personal account.
I like that. Real quick, I want to add to working as a blogger and give you guys some behind the scenes advice that you might not get from someone else, because I ask the people that I work with. I just recently worked in Cincinnati, Pampers, and love that brand. But I always ask the people that choose me, like, why did you choose me? How did you find me? So I would always suggest asking that if you do work with a brand, because they will give you the best advice, and they're the ones picking these influencers and bloggers to work with. So they said, we like that you seemed real and the quality of your comments was good. Because nowadays, like, you can buy followers and you can do all sorts of things to have an inflated following, but really does it translate to real followers? Like, that's what people and brands want. They want to see the quality of comments. Like, is it real? How many people are engaging with you? So it is a huge deal to have a good engagement. But the quality of your work too. So I would say just focus on good work. And I know Gary Vee says that too. Someone asked him, like, how do I beat the algorithm? And he said, that's the wrong question. Focus on your work. The quality of photos you're taking, because this person was a photographer that asked that. And that will help you mentally too, because you have control over your work. You don't have control over an algorithm or who follows you or unfollows you, but you have control over what you put out there. So focus on that, and I promise you, like, the work will come, the clients will come, the brands will come, because they're going to see the good work that you're producing. So focus on that.
Yeah, you can go back and look at the posts that you've gotten the most engagement on, the most comments on, and you'll see what your audience resonates with and what they're interested in hearing more from you. You can just, like, make a list or something.
Yeah, I think
practically.
You can even, if you have a business account with Instagram, you can even go back and look probably
in the
within
insights.
Instagram and Insights to see what posts have done well. There's another app called Iconosquare that a lot of people use that helps them see, this is what people are liking from me, or this is the time of day that's actually working for me to post too. So I would highly recommend that. Okay, this question's awesome. Do you recommend couples see a therapist when they have a healthy relationship? That's a good question. I used to think yes, and now I'm sorry, I'm gonna be real. My husband and I have been in therapy on and off for the last 7 years. We've been married 8 years. And I was like this young, fresh therapist when we got married, thinking we are going to be in therapy because it's so good for us. And if it's not broke, don't fix it.
I love it.
Just love on each other. And, I highly suggest, going to, marriage retreats or listening to, good books on marriage and how to, or reading books. I keep saying listening because that's where I'm at in life. But my husband and I love to talk about, the podcasts we listen to. So, we love Esther Perel. She has a podcast, and she has a book called Mating in Captivity that we highly recommend. And we love talking about, the chapters that we've read or listened to together. And that has helped us when we're not in therapy, and we haven't been for a while, probably because we just don't have time, and we're doing better. So I highly recommend therapy, couples therapy, if you guys need it. And you know what? Most couples do need it.
I know. I was like, who doesn't need it in certain seasons?
In certain seasons. Yeah, we've needed it in certain seasons.
You're two humans. You're going to need to work out some conflict.
Yeah.
It's helpful to have a therapist there.
One of our therapists said, think about it this way. You are two people from two different families, which is basically two different cultures. Mm-hmm. You're learning how to be one together when you get married. So I would probably say most couples need to go to couples therapy in their lifetime to work some issues out, to hear from each other. So it's helped us to have a third person to mediate things. But then when we are doing well, that's kind of the last thing I feel like we want to do is go in and spend time doing that. That's when you need to just go on a date, be together and enjoy that healthy relationship. And then, when you guys feel like you need help talking about something or working through an issue or communicating better, yes, I highly recommend it. Yeah, you've probably been in couples therapy, right? Mm-hmm. On and off? Mm-hmm. So, yeah,
Therapy's great.
Therapy's great. I think it's good to help you with your relationship, and it's also good to help you if you need to figure out whether or not you need to stay in the relationship. Mm-hmm. That it works for both ways. So, all right, on to the next one. Do you want to look and see if there's anything you have from your house?
So I had some more specific photography questions. One of them is really applicable to so many people, and it says, with so many photographers in the area, how do you stay positive? How do you feel about all the competition? Do you still feel valuable? Because I feel like that can resonate with like anyone in any profession, creative profession that's saturated. So I feel like that's similar to what we were talking about when you're finding your voice and you're connecting with your true identity, because there's no one who is going to look through that camera frame the way you would. You're such a unique person. You have a unique eye. You are different just by the sheer fact that you're you. And I think you have to be confident that you have something valuable to offer in the sea of thousands of other people, you know, all working, and believe that there's enough work to go around. There's so many people that need photography now, especially with social media, the day and age that we live in. Like, images are what are making clients connect to their audience and eventually like making them money and growing their business. Images are the first impression people see when they go to your website. They take 5 seconds, they decide, do I want to work with this person based on the images they see? When someone's going to your Instagram profile, they're going to look at the top 9 images and be like, yay or nay, 5 seconds. So images are so valuable. And I think because there's so much work available, there's enough to go around. And it's really about embracing who you are and the unique things that you have to offer, because there's only one person that has your eye, and that's you.
Yeah.
And that's what you're offering to your clients, and that's what's special and sets you apart. And it can go for any business.
Yeah, I was just thinking in the world of Instagram and blogging and influencing, it's the same truth that no one has your voice, no one has your look. So try to stand out by being who you are, and you may be similar to someone, and oftentimes I get inspired by other people and what they're doing, but then I put my own spin on it, and what looks good to me or what is true for me, but there is no one like you. So don't get discouraged if it seems like everybody's trying to do what you're doing, because there is an infinite amount of creativity out there, and opportunities. There are infinite opportunities. So if you don't get the opportunity that you're wanting, just use that as like a springboard for, okay, next time I'm gonna get this, or next time, or oftentimes I would get kind of frustrated, like, oh, so-and-so got this job or this account or this, campaign, but then I would turn it into something positive, like, well, that's what's out there for me. Or that's what's possible. Like, I could do that. Instead of telling yourself you can't do that because someone else got the job, tell yourself that you can do it because, like, it's out there and it's possible. It just might not be the right time.
Yeah, I know you shared that quote from your dad, right? When you would be like, why did that person win the race or something? And you can say it better than me.
Okay, so growing up, which is probably where I get that mindset, I used to say, like, oh, that person, they won the race because they're just, really good at swimming the mile, or, they can do it. And my dad would say, what makes you different than them? Which sometimes you can think, like, we all want to be different and stand out, which is true. But I, in my brain, was telling myself that person's better than me because they are that person, or because they are, they're just naturally gifted. And my dad would just always say to me, what makes you different than them? Like, you have the same, abilities like that. You could work hard. You could swim that mile, which I probably could have. That's one regret I have in high school, was not trying to swim the mile on swim team. I was afraid. I just let that fear tell me that I couldn't do it because it seemed hard. It seemed just too hard in my 16-year-old brain. And maybe at the time it was, but now I have a different mindset, and I'm like, okay, even though it's hard, and even though so-and-so can do it, and they probably could do it better than me, doesn't mean I can't do it. So, yeah.
And I really believe that when you can look at someone else that's doing like exactly what you want to do, and you might feel jealousy, envy, competition, if you can somehow in your heart believe that that's possible for you and bless that person what they're doing, then you're opening yourself up to receive that same blessing. But if you're looking at them and judging them or wishing bad things or, you know, that negative energy, then that keeps you from achieving things.
Yeah, I mean, if you're open and you're like, you know, looking at that person and blessing them, then maybe even you can have a friendship with that person. And,
Yeah.
and that's where you grow community. That's where you get more opportunities because you know people in your line of work that you're like, okay, that person is doing awesome. I want to learn from them, or I want to know what they're doing. And I think
Celebrate them,
yeah,
celebrate our
celebrate
victories
them.
with each other. Because when you're having a victory, you're going to want your friends to celebrate with you.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. Someone talked about or asked, how do you overcome being lazy or unmotivated, especially trying to get a project started? That's a good question. How do you
I think I definitely do get paralyzed when I feel overwhelmed. So for me, just practically, it's like breaking it down into steps and making it, filling it in my Google Calendar.
Yeah.
Okay, this step, don't try and do too much at once. It's like, oh, in your mind you think you have all these things to do, so then you're frozen, you don't do anything. Just break it down into a smaller, achievable task and put it in your calendar with an alarm. Because I have a lot of things in my calendar I just ignore. But when I see it come up, I'm like, okay, we're gonna just start this. Taking step one is the hardest thing. Once you do that, then you're on a roll.
I would also like to add, as a therapist, when I work with my clients and we're trying to work towards a goal and it seems like really big and challenging, I say, what are some steps you can take towards that goal this week? And they have to be doable. Like, you know, if it's starting a blog or if it's starting a new business, what are some steps you can take this week towards working on that? And that, like Megan said, you don't have to just launch it this week, you know? You can just write down like, okay, this week I'm going to research blogs I like or research other companies that are doing what I'm doing. And that could be your one thing towards that goal. So, you know, oftentimes, like if someone has depression or anxiety, like we write down what the goal is to, you know, get out of the house more or hang out with a friend. But what is a step you can take towards that goal would be maybe just to reach out and call a friend first. Because, you know, someone with depression isn't going to be able, or, you know, major depression isn't going to be able to just do that, to just get out of the house. Like brushing your teeth sometimes is the goal, and that is celebratory. Like, give yourself pats on the back for doing those small steps towards your goal, no matter where you're at in life. So yeah, write down the steps you can take towards that project, towards accomplishing that project, and then work on those each week until the project's done. So yeah, I like to like write down, okay, when the project is due, and then I can write down each week or each day like what I'm working on towards that project to complete. So that's what I would have to say. Yeah, we should answer another question from your audience.
I have one more question from a photographer who wanted to know how I got into shooting editorial work, more like fashion editorial. So I would say if you're interested in that, I would reach out to brands and see if they have any need for photography, and maybe they don't pay you on the first shoot, but you're just kind of showing them a snapshot. Like if you don't have a lot of experience and a big portfolio in that field, then you're saying, hey, here's my service. I love your brand. I would love to work with you. If you have any need for photography, let's try and collaborate on something, and just keep reaching out to people, because there's so many small shop owners now, like small boutiques, that they always need photos for their Instagram, and build that portfolio so that then you can approach bigger brands and, you know, start to get paid for it. But I personally started working with fashion brands just through connections in my community. I do make it a big priority to go to like networking events with other entrepreneurs at least once a month. That's my goal. And I meet so many other business owners, and just through word of mouth and community locally, that's how I've made connections with with other fashion brand owners in the area that I've recently been working more with.
Yeah, that's awesome. I have a question from a 23-year-old, and I love talking to 20-year-olds because I feel like I was just there, even though it was a while ago. But that was a hard time in my life. I don't know if it was for you too, but it was a time of like limbo, I felt like. So this person says, what would you say to someone who is 23 and so ready for life but still studying? And I think that can go for anybody. Like, I'm ready for life, but I am at home with a child. I'm ready for life, but I don't know what to do. I'm ready for life, but I'm stuck in this job I don't like. So I would say journal. I did that a lot in my 20s when I was confused or when I was unhappy. And that helped me to sort out my thoughts. That helped me to figure out like where I wanted to go in my career. It helped me figure out what I wanted in a spouse because I like wrote it down. And I also poured myself into others. I volunteered at a special needs youth group, and that helped me to focus on other people. And it helped me get out of my own negative thinking sometimes. So I would say, save time for others. Focus on studying. That's probably your number one thing you should do because that's where you're at. And know this, that it will fly by. Those years of studying, I know 4 years sounds like a long time. Well, if you're 23, you're probably, I don't know how long you have left to go in school, but those college years, those educational years are just like, they go by fast. So enjoy it. Enjoy studying. But yeah, write down, like if things in life seem like I want to do this, but I can't, write down that you're going to do it soon or someday. And yeah, save some time for what you really want to do.
And it's funny because I feel like no matter what stage in life we're at, we're kind of waiting for the next one. Mm-hmm. Like currently, I think all the time, like, okay, once my kids are both in school, then my life's going to start. And then when they're in school, it's probably like, okay, well, once they're this age and it's just about learning to embrace being present in your life, where you're at. And recently I've been really intentional in being thankful that my kids are so young and attached to me because I know like they're going to get to that age when they don't want to run up to me and give me a hug. Yeah. And they're not like constantly in my space. They're out with their friends and I don't see them and I'm just wondering like, oh, are they safe, Mm-hmm. And their little voices are so tiny and squeaky and cute and pretty soon they're going to be big.
Yes.
And so I'm just like savoring the cuddles and the moments and the good in it.
Yes,
and
I agree.
Because you're going to get older and then it's that feeling, it doesn't go away.
It doesn't ever go away. What you're feeling right now, like, doesn't ever go away. Feeling like, okay, life's going to start when I do that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're so right. I look back on college and studying, and I look back on it with such fondness. Like, that library and, like, seeing my friends in the library studying and, like, getting a cup of coffee and being at the coffee shop and studying. Like, enjoy all of that freedom. Because even though this phase of life is good, where you have a newborn in your arms, it's good. It's all good. But where you're at is good too. And there's life to be lived in that moment, wherever you're at. Bam! That's a tweetable moment.
Yes.
Tweetable. Okay, let's finish with this fun one. How did you name your kids? That's a good one. I like that. We can end on that.
You go.
Okay. I named my first kid Waylon because I liked how it sounded. I was laying down on the couch. I was on bed rest. Or no. Was I on bed rest yet? I don't know. I was watching TV and like this country infomercial love song CD came on and Waylon Jennings was on it. And I like asked my husband, I was like, what do you think about Waylon? And he was like, I love it. And I knew he would love it because he is a huge music fan and he loves old country music, like the real good country music. So I knew he was going to love that. And Waylon Jennings always says he's an American original, so he's kind of like, really cool. So we liked Waylon. Yeah, Waylon. And we always choose a middle name that is a family name. So he's named after my dad, Waylon Phillip. And then we chose Ezekiel Charles because I always loved the name Ezekiel. Someone else I knew, like when I was in my 20s, single 20s, had a son named Ezekiel, and they named him and they called him Zeke, and I loved it. And then I remembered it when I was pregnant, and I think we were on our way to church, and I opened the Bible, and it opened up to that, to Ezekiel. And I was like, whoa, I wonder what it means. And I then looked it up, and you can look up on nameberry.com, like what the meaning of the name is. And it said that it meant God strengthens us. And at the time I was feeling particularly weak and afraid and anxious. And I thought that is the perfect name for him. And we can call him Zeke. And then his middle name is Charles after my husband's dad. And then Ruby was the hardest one to name because I was not in girl world. I just did not know. I wanted to give her a beautiful name. I wanted to give her a name that meant peace. Ruby does not mean peace, but I wanted her to have a name that like was beautiful and like long lasting. And so we just chose, Ruby was one we liked the sound of, and it just kind of lasted on our list. And we just loved the name. It just sounded really good, and it kept coming to us at the end. I kept seeing it everywhere, like Ruby Street or this, Ruby Cafe. So that's how we chose her name. She's also, her middle name is Jean, which is named after my grandmother. Her middle name was Jean, and I believe Jean means peace or something like that. I probably should look it up again, but my mom brain is failing me at the moment. So yeah, we felt like the middle name gave her the meaning and significance, but we also just loved the name Ruby, and it felt like it looked like her.
Where did you find it? What we online or?
No, I didn't even. I think Sam came up with it.
Never even mentioned Ruby to me.
I didn't, because when I mentioned the names to people, I then started not liking it. No, me. It was my own hormones. When I said it to someone, I'd be like, "Oh, I don't like it anymore."
I was so shocked because it was so funny. My best friend in high school and college is Ruby Jean.
Yeah,
and it's such a unique name.
Yeah, so
and she was like, "I love my name." She loves her name.
That makes me feel so good because I want her to love it.
Catchy name too. Like she could be a celebrity or something.
Oh, good. Okay,
Ruby Jean Powers.
Ruby Jean. Okay, Megan, how did you name your kids?
Well, it's very funny because I too named my son after a country music star, Johnny Cash. Yep. And I was like, you know what? This kid is not going to be a dork if his name is Cash.
That
he is going to be cool.
Yes.
Criteria. I just had a sense that he was going to be musical. So I was Googling musical names, and there were so many like Tyler or Hendrix or... Yeah, and Cash, I was like, oh, I like Cash, and his dad and I agreed on it, which is like one of the only names we agreed on. Yeah. That was the other reason I picked it. So that's how we picked his name, and it's funny because now he is 4 years old, and he's extremely musical. Like, freaks me out. Has his own electric drum kit. He plays everything constantly. He's like insane. But and then with my daughter, I was looking at names and saw the name River, and I don't know, I just loved it. I kind of like unisex names for girls, and I don't know, I didn't have as much of a specific reason for why I picked that name for her. It just stood out to me, and we agreed on it, so that was her name. I thought it was beautiful.
But your kids also have beautiful middle names, right? That have
yeah, they have Hawaiian middle names because their dad is Hawaiian. So her middle name is Kali'ivai, which means the little like running stream. So it also means river. And then Cash's middle name is Mana'o, which means wisdom and powerful force. So I wanted to name him something that had to do with wisdom. So I feel like that's such an important quality. So I don't know, naming kids is scary, but also really a really cool responsibility we have as a parent because it's really significant in their identity.
Yeah, in their identity. Whoa, I'm just remembering my mom after pregnant brain. I remember now what Jean means. Well, Ruby obviously is a gem. Yeah. And we felt like she really is like this little gem in our family because she is our last child, and she was like a miracle. She's a girl. And Jean means God is gracious, and I felt like that when I found out that I was, for one, just pregnant, and two, that she was, I get to have a daughter. I felt like, wow, God has been really gracious to me and my family, and
and it also is my grandmother's middle name, so it means a lot. So yeah, that's lastly how I named her. So that's it. Yeah, and real quick, someone else asked, like, are we going to be helping others find their passion in that e-course? That was another question. And yes, we hope that with all the things that we have put in this e-course, honestly, we have been working on it for months and months and put so much time into it. So we hope that you see the value in it. And that is our main hope, is that you are able to find your passion, that it helps assist you on that journey to find out what your passion is and what you're supposed to be focusing on, and then that we can tangibly help you with some tutorials on how to make that profitable. So thank you for listening to this episode of Sure Babe, and yeah, keep writing us. Also subscribe. You can subscribe on my blog, chrissypowers.com, in the subscriber box, or it says subscribe to my newsletter. If you do that, we will be sending those people first dibs on the e-course. I believe it will be at a discounted rate. We also have lots of freebies and some fun webinars coming up. So please subscribe on chrissypowers.com for all of that goodness and information, and be on the lookout as well on Instagram, and just,
and I think we can put a link in the description too.
Yeah, we'll put a link in the description of this podcast to subscribe for all of our free goodies that we have coming up.
Yes.
All right. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening. I hope this was encouraging to you and answered some of your questions. Please feel free to send us more questions on Instagram at Chrissy J. Powers, and as well through my website, chrissypowers.com. You can contact me and send me some of your questions. We would love to record another podcast that is helpful to you professionally and personally, which we feel like our e-course is just chock full of content that will help you professionally and personally. So this Wednesday, if you would like to join us, we have a free webinar. You can reserve your spot. It is called How to Stand Out on Instagram and Grow Lasting Influence. And that's really what it's all about. Growing lasting influence and knowing who you are and not getting caught up in the comparison game. We are going to talk all about that this Wednesday at 11 a.m. So click the link in the description of this podcast and sign up for your free spot and connect with us live. We'll be answering questions as well at the end. And I cannot tell you how life-giving this is for me. I love helping other people out so much, and knowing that it is helping you guys in your careers and just in your lives in general. So thank you so much for listening and supporting Sure Babe. Bye, guys.